All right, good morning. What happens when you look for trouble? You're generally going to find it. And that's what we're talking about today on Rebel Religion in the News, specifically what's happening in Minnesota with ICE agents and people protesting and getting in the middle of um, law enforcement activity. Protesting is fine, but when you get in the middle of it, it seems like you're asking for trouble. But, I don't want to make, I'll leave this up to my guest to do the judging. I'm just trying to do the reporting.
We'll be the ones that judge.
You'll
right?
be the ones that
We'll
judge.
do it.
And that is Pastor Tim Rule of Pleasant Valley Baptist Church, a wise voice, another wise voice, my co-host, Pastor Alfredo Romero of Rock of Life Fellowship. Two people dead, and really without any good cause. No reason for it to happen, but people got themselves mixed in and went to some place they shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
And it's the old and listen, nobody is happy that anybody died. No one is celebrating saying people get what they deserve. I don't believe that for a second. I don't want that to be misconstrued. But there's a saying that says you play with fire, you're going to get burned. You teach your kids, don't play with fire. And it seems like maybe some of these protesters have never learned that lesson. Am I wrong?
Well, there was somebody that did I saw in the news, somebody did a very thorough deep dive into what protest is here in America, according to our Constitution. Peaceful assembly, protesting is not a problem, but there's agitators. When you go and you stomp on cars and you kick cars and you throw fireworks and you bring guns and other things, you're asking for trouble. You're not a protester, a peaceful protester. You're an agitator. You're a troublemaker. And so he was just doing this deep dive between, if people were standing there with signs and shouting, if they want to, that's fine. But when you get involved in it, you stop cars, you sit in the middle of a freeway.
Truman.
All that's not really protesting.
True. In fact, as we were just planning, just listen to the question, those two words are exact words came to my mind. Protesting is fine. You want to take a sign, you want to use your voice. But when you start impeding other people's area, blocking traffic, people cannot go to work, and now you became from a protester to an agitator. So you're trying to get under someone's skin, trying to make them do something. Then don't be surprised if they do that. And, we like to see restraint and everything else. But these people that are complaining about, well, I have my rights. No, you don't have the right to agitate somebody else. You have the right to protest what you believe. But to agitate somebody else, to stop their car, to throw rocks, to have bricks, to impede someone else's space, I think we've got to look at the honest truth of this stuff. I know this. If I live next to a freeway and I just made a habit of seeing my times I run back and cross without getting hit, I will probably get hit one time,
Yeah,
putting myself right there. Yeah. And so, and let me maybe take it one step further, is that you use that quote, those that look for trouble usually get it. And so I don't think we ought to chase trouble either. When I know someone is just bent on being that way, I will do my very best to help them, explain a way for them to get out of it. But if they consist to do that, that's fine. Just go ahead. Because if I chase them, I'll be the one following them, crossing that highway back and forth. And I, too, will soon be in that thing, and I don't need to do that.
And it kind of takes away, and I hesitate to say this, but for some, it will take the sympathy away from somebody who's lost their life. I mean, were they
Sure.
innocent? Were they innocent? I mean, and that's a terrible thing to say
No,
because
it's
I
true,
didn't want
though.
anybody to die. But
course
sometimes the sympathy is sort of like, well, you put yourself in harm's way unnecessarily. It wasn't like you were, fighting for the United States to defend, defending your property, defending a loved one, and then you die. You're doing it for a good cause. But it seems to me these people, I don't want to say what I think, but I just wonder whether or not it's okay not to feel the kind of sympathy that we're seeing a lot on some network television shows.
Yeah, let me give you an example of following, like God gives us laws, and he says, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. Why? Because that's what's best for us.
Right.
He's not saying do it because I told you to. He's saying because I'm trying to help you. That's what's best. That's what's going to keep your life in line. That's what's going to help you through trials and tribulations. Follow my commandments. If you look, we have laws in this country for a reason. So the young woman,
Renee Good.
Renee Good, that was stopped by the police officer, she was told several times, stop the car, turn off the car, get out of the car, stop. And I saw the video numerous times. They kept telling her, follow this command, follow this command.
And the way they said it too was important. And I don't support using foul language.
No.
But maybe I do on this case. It wasn't like he said, get out of your car, pretty please, with sugar on top. Okay? Please.
It was
He
an
said,
order.
get the you-know-what out of here. And I don't like hearing those kinds of words, but there was no doubt that she was not supposed to be there, and maybe using that type of language makes it very adamant, very clear. You are not to be here. Get the you-know-what out of here. And again, I want to emphasize I don't like anybody using that type of language, but it wasn't like it was like, ambiguous. I mean, am I supposed to leave? Am I not supposed to leave? He made it very clear.
Well, it
You
doesn't
don't belong
start
here.
like that. If you see the whole video, especially if you even go back to, dare I say, Rodney King and another situation where people end up getting hurt, their orders do not start that way.
Never.
It escalates. Okay, please stop. Put your hands behind your back. Stop. Please stop. Hey, stop. And then you can hear it escalate to maybe there's foul language. Get out of your car. But when you start understanding, when you disobey laws, there's going to be trouble, especially in God's laws, people. But they gave this Renee Good specific orders, and she didn't. And then at first, you thought, well, maybe the cop could have got out of the way. He got hurt. He got hit and ended up going to the hospital. So we don't know what people are going to do. And I'm friends with some law officers. They get out of the car, stop a simple traffic ticket. They have no idea if that's going to be their last day,
Correct.
their last moment.
Especially in this culture right now.
Yeah,
And
you don't
people
know.
and people have to respond in a split second. I'm watching video on CNN and MSN Now and even
Yeah.
Fox News and all of them, and they're moving it in slow motion, and they're looking at it and they'll zoom in, and we could have. It happens as quick as this to this.
Yep.
That's the interval. In between those two claps is the time they have to make a decision, life or death. They don't get the advantage of going in slow-mo and saying, well, if the quarterback had just rolled to his right a little bit and maybe
Yeah.
had a little bit more, you got to make a decision instantaneously. And it just seems like in the coverage, we're not seeing that type of
Yes.
analysis.
The armchair quarterback, it's that hindsight. You think, oh, I would have done this, I would have done that. But I've been in a situation where things happen and just you can't think. It's more of a reaction.
Big time. Big time. And this lady that we're talking about, Renee Good, what happened, but the whole scene had escalated. So it was right at that boiling point. And the thing is, I think everyone needs to know this, is that when you go to a meeting and learn how to agitate and learn how to protest and are
And
paid
paid
to
for
do
it,
so,
yeah.
you want to be at your game. I want to do this. I want to press it. We got to look at, it's not just something just happened. These protests are planned. They are paid. They go to school. They're saying resist this and do this, and we'll get you out of here. We'll pay your bail. So there's a lot more than just one BCI.
Well, look what happened at the city's church last week. Last not this past Sunday, but 2 Sundays ago, a church is interrupted called the city's church in Minneapolis, and it was all planned ahead of time. The former broadcaster with CNN, Don Lemon, was a part of that, and I know there's going to be some people charged with certain things. It's clearly against the law. But I'm curious, from your vantage point, if that kind of situation were to happen in your church, Pastor. I'll start with Pastor Tim Rule, Pleasant Valley Baptist Church. If a group of people like that came into your church, do you have contingency plans on what to do in the event like something like that would happen?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We have security at our church, and so we go through scenarios and things like that. And so if a group like that would come in, I'm all for them coming, but when they want to take over the service, that's not right. And for everyone to know this, it is a privilege to go to church. No one has the right to go to church. So I have the right to be in your church. Oh, no, you don't. You don't have the right to be in a restaurant. They don't want to serve you.
It's private property.
It's private property.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we welcome everybody. And I can tell you this. We've had dope fiends and drug addicts and prostitutes and whatever you want to call, and we want them there because we want to help them. But they came there to go ahead, agitate, or to make a point what they want to do.
Disrupt.
Go to your own place and do that. We are here to do what God wants us to do. We would be cordial. And then watch this. If they were to start to act up, I know myself as a pastor, I would just take the lead and say, folks, I'm all for what you're doing, but this is not the place. Step in the parking lot. And if they persist as they did, I would say we have no other means but to go ahead and call enforcement and have them remove you from our buildings.
Would it be best? I mean, there are kids in there, and you don't know if somebody comes in there with a weapon.
You
Would
have
it
no
be
idea.
best? Would it be best if something like that were to happen for people just to flee the church and say, "Fine, you can take control of the church. We're getting out of here. We're going to call the police." In terms of safety reasons, that's a typical. I mean, I guess it depends on the situation.
Yeah, and there's two things. First thing, our church, I think all churches should have a safety team,
Right.
a team that controls situations. And we've had a few incidents here and there. We've talked to law enforcement before. People that want to protest and go against the whole point of our worship services, they're allowed to be out on the sidewalk. They're not allowed to be on our property. We can very much tell them that they're trespassing if they're not in line with what the purpose of our church
Correct.
service is. The second thing is, you want to do me a favor? You want to make this equal? Don't go into a Christian church. Go into a synagogue. Go into a Muslim worship service, an Islamic service. Try that over there. They pick on Christians because we love them. We
Right.
pray for them. There was people with their hands up going, Lord, help these people. So, and just try it. Make it even. It's always Christianity you pick on because we're going to love you.
That's true.
Anyway, that's it.
Yeah. Well,
But just to my point real quick, they don't go, it's always Christians that they want to attack. Why? Because it's the truth and they know it.
Yep.
Why attack something that's false and disrupt something that's false? You want to attack the truth, right? That's
Exactly
what
right.
Satan does. Satan wants to disrupt the truth.
I got about 30 seconds left in this segment. Are we going to see more of this around the country? What we saw at that church in Minnesota?
I believe churches will be wiser to it, knowing that it happened. And if they try to really promote this, here's what we did, we interrupted this. At our church, we just simply see if a crowd is not coming, we'd probably stop them at the door and just say, we've never seen you here before. Are you a guest? And are you come to worship or to agitate? We probably go ahead and prevent before it got inside.
We're going to step aside. We got some viewer mail, listener mail. We're going to get to that, the mailbag, when we come back.
Hey, welcome back to Rebel Religion News. Hey, here's what we do. We take the news of the day and we compare it to the Bible and say, hey, what are we doing wrong?
No, good.
What are we
It
doing?
goes both ways, right?
What are
Yeah.
we doing? So we've been talking about getting into trouble, putting yourself in harm's way, and the circumstances or the consequences that happen from us putting ourselves in a place that we really shouldn't be. And so we got this viewer mail that's kind of in line with what happened in Minneapolis, what's going on over there. We did a show basically on the Target lady and Michaela Ponce, the one that posted the video. And we got a viewer comment on there.
And we mentioned it was Jeannie Beeman.
Jeannie Beeman, thank you.
The
Target lady.
The Target woman who worked there.
America's grandma.
I don't know if she's. I don't know if she's still working. I don't think she needs to. She got
she
nearly
quit.
$500,000.
I went and
donations.
asked for her. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, she's no longer here.
Anyway, go on. So we do get viewer mail and listener mail, and it's important to. We appreciate people taking the time to send in their thoughts. So let's read what they have to say.
Well, basically, along the theme of staying out of harm's way and don't get yourself in trouble, right? Don't drink poison and get mad that you get sick. So this woman, person, all I know is it's SPM36 is her handle. She bullied an elderly lady because, here's a good point, because society and social media has told her that she's special, that everybody's wrong but her, that she, and this, I'm continuing, but let me read this. But she says the people told her she's special. She's not. This is the bad part I don't agree with. But a lot of people have the sentiment. I hope Michaela Ponce loses everything. Well, that's not what Jeannie Beeman said. And that's not what any true believer would say.
True.
Wouldn't you agree with that?
No, I don't want bad to happen to some person. And so if someone did something wrong, oh my goodness, we've all done a lot of wrong.
Yeah.
So let's not throw us out with the wash. But what the lady did was wrong. Okay, I admit I was wrong. I'm sorry I was wrong. I won't do it again. And go on with life. There you go.
But I don't think, from what I've read, Michaela Ponce has done that on her page to get money. What's it called again?
Yeah, the GoFundMe account.
GoFundMe account. I mean, she only had a few $100s. And in it, she says, I was, using my First Amendment rights, and because of that, I lost my job. Instead of just saying,
That's
I
not true.
really messed up, and I made a mistake, and I'm struggling financially. Please forgive me. and if you could afford to provide some money to help feed my family, etc., that would have been different. I'm still not sure that somebody that would have led people to say I'm going to give this person money, but at least it would have been, it would have showed some humility.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little bit concerned about that. I hope that, and that's the thing with Christians, we are hoping that people get better.
Okay.
We're cheering them on.
Yeah, but crawling out of a hole gives you a really good memory. I don't want to go down that hole again.
Yeah.
And a good word, we call it mercy, all right? Mercy and justice are very much misconstrued.
Yes.
God is a just God. He's a just. Well, no, God would send anyone to hell. You're exactly right. God will not. God doesn't want anybody dying to go to hell. But people, when they choose to do that, all right, and they're maybe in that final court with God, God is merciful. Mercy is the attitude you have when you have to go ahead and decide justice. Justice is right and wrong. There's no gray areas. Justice is right or wrong.
That's right.
But how we deal with that stuff, like this lady who did this, she was wrong. She was wrong. But we're not going to call her name out and try to get her fired and all this other stuff. But whatever hole she's dug herself into, she's going to have to go in and get herself out of. That's what makes you tough again, not to make the same mistakes.
And I agree with that. And once again, this kind of ties into what we were talking about with the Minneapolis situation and people putting themselves. Now, we know Michaela Ponce uploaded that video herself, right?
Yep.
Without thinking because, well, what the previous commentator from our emails basically said, well, she did it to herself, right? But because she thinks she's special. Like everybody in the world, is my opinion,
Yep.
everybody in the world thinks like I do. But she doesn't. Now, I'm going to read one more. This is from Felisa Wagner, our number one commentator fan. She says, reaping what you sow is true. Sad that some people have not learned to not go looking for trouble because it could literally cost you your life. And that's the whole point. And, even Jesus says to be, love your neighbor and be kind. And if I love my neighbor, I'm not going to go out. Even if I disagree with them, I'm not going to berate them. I'm not going to treat them unkind. So if I've protested in the past about some things, gathered in places, and it was never shouting or yelling. I was just there to make my thoughts known, my opinions known.
Now, Jesus himself sought trouble, did he not? And it ultimately led to his crucifixion. But there was a bigger cause. There was a bigger purpose for it. He did seek out trouble. He went to the Pharisees and he said, "You guys are doing this all wrong. You guys are all messed up." He went looking for trouble, but for a bigger, greater cause. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I am.
I don't think Jesus went looking for trouble. Jesus went speaking the truth. Now, he knew as the Pharisees had every right, and some of them did. All right, Nicodemus, Joseph of Arimathea. I mean, many of these Pharisees thought this man spake with authority that no man spake. And they knew he was the true Messiah, and they followed him. Others were so set in their own Phariseeism, all right, like I am the person, that when Jesus was there, I mean, they asked him, would you read the scriptures? And he read the scriptures. And so he was there, but their animosity toward him got very heated, and Jesus just took a stand for who he was and what he believed. So I would not say he went looking for it, but as he was there and they tried to refute him, he stood his ground. He stood his ground.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And the biggest thing about the looking for trouble part, I've taken classes. When you're in management, you take classes how to diffuse situations.
Yes, yeah.
And the easiest way to diffuse a situation, no matter if you're the protester or the person being protested against, the best way is to realize whatever conflict you have could escalate and stop it as soon as possible. Now, for some of these people, what they should have done is comply.
Sure.
That's what you do. You comply. You're given an order by an authority, you comply. Because if you don't, it'll escalate to another level. And if you further don't comply, it goes to another level. Next you know, somebody's shot, somebody's hurt.
Yep.
And the best thing we can do is comply.
And that's actually where sometimes domestic violence takes place, where the lesson is sometimes is to say nothing. If there's a problem in a relationship and maybe a marriage or something along those lines, and there's a disagreement, and it'll start really slow with something. I think of the arguments I've had with my wife, which happened years ago.
Yeah,
not
sure,
lately,
sure.
years and years
Yes.
ago. It always started with something really stupid.
And
you go, what
escalates.
started that argument? I mean,
And you
that's what
never
that-
stayed. And you never stayed on that subject. It went to
Yes,
something
it went to
else.
something else. And something happened 20 years ago. And it's like, it's just, you have to, it's the old, it's like Barney Fife would say, nip it in the bud, nip it in the bud,
Nip it, nip it,
nip it, nip it, nip it. Yes, get to it quickly before it escalates.
You know, there's a great Bible verse that says, "A soft answer turneth away wrath, but
Yes.
grievous words stir up anger." And any discussion, argument, disagreement within a marriage, a family, a business, a team, when someone just escalates like this, just stop, slow down, speak in a soft voice, don't agitate it. Bible says a soft answer deflected, turned away wrath. But grievous words, oh yeah, bud, you want to talk about that? Let me tell you something. Well, you just added fuel to the fire, and that fire's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
And that's what's happening in Minneapolis.
Exactly right.
And people are getting bad advice.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
and getting paid to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, I just
You
saw.
don't see
Chuck
it.
the wood. Put the wood on the fire. There you go.
I just saw an interview on the news where one of the newscasters went out in the field in Minneapolis and asked this woman that was there in Minneapolis protesting amongst all these protesters, go, listen, I'm just going to tell you guys honestly, don't you have jobs? Aren't you, don't you have to support your family? What are you doing here? And the lady looked at her and said, I'm getting paid right now.
Exactly.
And the newscaster looks at the camera and goes,
There
see,
you go.
there you go. And I've seen look, here's the thing. There are people that may have genuinely gone out there to protest, but there are people that are actually out there to agitate, to disrupt, to cause trouble, to escalate. They want people hurt so they can go, see? And that's the whole thing. And that's where I'm just going to say it bluntly. True Christians would not do that. You shouldn't do that. You can't do that, people. We're supposed to be Christed people, ambassadors, and whatever that doesn't represent. So you have to start praying for these people that are the disruptors and the agitators, because they're the ones that I would look at and say they're not Christ-like. I can't assume their salvation, but the word says, how do you know people?
By the fruit.
By their
And
fruit.
when you said that, I thought about those who are pro-life. 10, 15 years ago, the pro-life movement did things which I think didn't work. Waving pictures of
Sure.
dead fetuses, bad idea. Yelling killer to women who go into a clinic, bad idea. You're not winning people over. But they've changed. Now they have vigils. They just pray. They pass information out. They're kind. That's the way to protest. That's the way to win people over. These people in Minneapolis, I'm not sure they're winning. Maybe they are winning people over with what they're doing, but I'm not sure.
I think they're just shaking the corner of the house and all the cockroaches are coming out kind of thing. I think they've always kind of been there. This is my opinion, is I think they're always there. They just have the loudest voice, and I definitely think they're the minority.
No doubt.
They're the minority.
doubt.
They just have a really loud voice. Yeah. So we need to get louder in our prayers, louder in our reasoning with these people, and hopefully that somehow they would allow the Holy Spirit to touch them and change their hearts.
I want to thank Pastor Tim Rule of Pleasant Valley Baptist Church, pvbaptist.org. Their service time is at 8:45 in the morning and also at, I want to say, 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings.
With in between a 10 o'clock service for connection groups and things like that. So 8:45, 10, and 11. And then the evening service at 6 on Wednesdays, same 6:30.
And of course, Pastor Alfredo Romero of Rock of Life Fellowship.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good rest of your day. Take good care.
God bless.